Welcome back. You're watching SA Today on the SABC News Channel. Concerns are growing around government's phased approach to the reopening of schools. This as the country's response to COVID-19 will move from level 5 to level 4 on the national lockdown on Friday. The Basic Education Department postponed its briefing this week that was expected to provide some clarity on the academic calendar. Meanwhile, Teachers Union SADTU is concerned about whether health and safety protocols have been put in place to ensure that pupils, parents and educators aren't exposed to COVID-19. For a little bit more on this, we're now joined by SATDU Deputy Secretary General Nkosana Dolopi. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. Were you concerned that the department delayed their briefing this week?
Not really, Peter. I think the minister needs more time to be able to apply her mind. We think she is still gathering more information from the experts, and we also hope that she is also consulting the Department of Health, and then we hope at the time she takes this decision, this important decision, she would have then consulted broadly even with other stakeholders as well. So we're not really worried about her postponing. We think it was the right thing for her to do. She doesn't have to rush. We are not in any hurry. We are here talking about lives. We are talking about lives of almost 13 million learners. We are talking about lives of almost 440,000 teachers. We are talking about lives of more support staff at the offices of the Department of Education. So we think it might have been good for her to delay the decision a little bit, consult more, get more information, scan the environment properly, and then take an informed decision.
All right. Has SADTU been engaged, consulted, and if so, what have you brought to her attention as your concerns?
Yes, we have been part of the consultations, and I think we must thank the minister and the DG for education for always consulting stakeholders, taking us on board, informing us of developments. We also use those platforms to raise our issues. Like I earlier said, the point that we emphasize in all our consultations was about the safety at the learning institutions. We are concerned about the safety at schools. We are concerned about the safety at colleges of TVET. We are concerned about the safety even at the offices where our members are working. So we are saying that all measures should be put in place to make sure that they are safe. Questions of sanitation, questions of mask, questions of overcrowding at some of the township and rural schools. We have to look at in terms of how we comply with the social distancing issue, where we are hearing, the regulations are talking about the suggestion of anything between 1.5, 1.2, 1.5. So we'll have to look at how do we address the question of overcrowded classes in the townships and overcrowded classes in the rural areas. Questions of transport, for instance. We know that in the townships and in the rural areas, many a times learners are crammed into buggies, many a times they are crammed into kumbis. So we'll have to look at how do we then enforce the regulations on transportation when we will have to make this decision of the reopening of the schools. So key to us is let's make sure that we don't risk the lives of the learners. It's 13 million learners. It's a generation. We should not risk their lives. We should make sure that everything is safe before we take them back to schools.
All right. What suggestions have you put on the table to deal with things like social distancing and the size of the classes in a lot of these challenged areas?
Like I earlier spoke about questions of sanitation. We made the point that we must make sure that all schools, there should be sanitation available at all these learning institutions, even at the offices where some of our members will be working. We raise the issue of water as a key issue, around hygiene, for instance. So we are saying that we must make sure that all schools, even those who might not have water available now, should be provided with water such that they don't go back and still face challenge of water that is not available. But our serious concern is around the question of social distancing, with the experience that we have of overcrowded classes. Look, in the townships, in the rural areas, it's an open secret that you will have
but how do you
classes
fix
up
it?
to 80,000.
How do you fix it?
That's why I'm saying that we will have to make sure that we address some of them. That's why we must not be in a hurry. Let's wait. If we will not be able to deal with the question of social distancing, let's then wait a little bit, look at whether we can get to a lower level from level 4 up to maybe level 3, and then some of the consideration will then be made based on that. We feel like level 4 is still high. We must wait a little bit, get to level 3, and I think many of these things could fall in place.
All right, but are we losing the academic calendar the longer this goes on? And we may get to a point where it becomes impossible to catch up. How do we balance these two?
Look, we must balance them, but we are still saying, even if we try to balance them, lives of our children must come first. We say our discussion must start from that point, from the point of the safety of schools, or the health of the learners, about the health of our teachers. Look, we are also of the view that we're having a base for 2020. Learners were already engaged in some form of learning from January up to March. There were school-based assessments that were done. So we do have some form of a base that we can work on up to maybe when we do open the schools. Let's assume, I'm just making an example, that if we do open schools maybe later during the year, we will be working from that base that we would have laid between January and February, and then make sure that we try as much as possible to cover what we are able to cover and prepare our learners for the examination in November. But we will have to think out of the box and say, how do we make sure, because the critical grade maybe will be grade 12, for instance, because they might be then the grade that will have to exit the schooling system. There will have to be discussions with the Department of Higher Education. There will have to be discussions with the universities to make sure that how do we accommodate these learners. Maybe delay examinations a little bit, get more time to be able to teach the learners, prepare them for the examinations, and then write the examinations when we are satisfied that we would have prepared them. But for the other grades that are focusing on assessment, continuous school-based assessment, I think they should form a bigger part of us being able to assess whether a learner is able to progress and or is not able to progress. So we're not working on a zero base. We're working on something that we would have built from January up to March for the other grades, except for grade 12, where I think we'll have to focus our attention on and prioritize.
So what's the feedback that you're getting from your members, the teachers on the ground? What are they saying to you that they are fearing the most?
It's anxiety. They are really, really afraid. And you must remember, in fact, the situation now is slightly worse than it was when we closed the schools in March. Now you would have seen in the last few weeks that the numbers are growing almost every day. Even the numbers of those who unfortunately passed on is growing every day. So you must appreciate the fact that the level of anxiety, the level of fear would have grown from when we closed the schools in March up to now. Look, our teachers are really, really concerned. Many of them who speak to me, the ones that we are speaking to, are concerned about the lives of our children. They are concerned that their children are losing out in terms of this 1 quarter year. But they are also saying, in as much as they would want to go and assist the learners, but they would also not want our learners to be put into an area, into a risky area where their lives will be endangered. So they are trying to get this balance right of saying, yes, indeed, we want to educate our children, but let's not put their lives at risk at the very same time.
All right, Mr. Dolopi, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us and some of the concerns that you have as a union for your teachers and educators on the front line. Thanks so much indeed, and let's hope your issues get resolved quite soon.
Pleasure.
All right, that's the Deputy General Secretary, Nkosana Dolopi from SATDU, speaking to us ahead of what we hope will be a briefing later this week, if it does happen, from the Department of Basic Education about what a phased-in approach may mean and look like?